Okay, so picture like a perfectly manicured Hollywood lawn. It looks totally serene.
Right, like flawless, unnaturally green.
Exactly. The edges are laser straight, and it just projects this aura of absolute untouchable peace. But and here's the thing. If you take a shovel and dig just 2 inches down into that pristine turf, you instantly hit dirt.
Dirt, tangled roots, probably some really aggressive bugs.
Oh, definitely bugs. It's just a completely different ecosystem hiding right beneath the surface.
Well, yeah, I mean, you only experience that feeling of serene perfection because an entire team of professionals is working very, very hard to keep your eyes on the grass and off the dirt.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We are taking a shovel to those glossy, highly manicured PR facades of Hollywood stars.
So we can examine the messy, contradictory, and honestly sometimes unhinged real-life behaviors hiding just beneath that surface.
Right. We have gathered this fascinating stack of accounts, some historical public records, and compiled public statements concerning 4 major celebrities, and we are looking right past the gloss.
Which is such a necessary exercise.
Well,
celebrity culture is built on this very specific tension.
Totally.
It constantly forces you to reconcile the flawless or heroic characters you love on screen with the deeply flawed, complex humans who are actually playing them.
So true.
So today, we are breaking down the machinery of how those public images are rigorously maintained. And of course, analyzing the fallout when the mask inevitably slips.
And oh boy, does it slip in some spectacular ways in the materials we are analyzing today.
Yeah, we have a lot to cover.
We really do. We're covering everything from covered-up hotel room arrests to a bizarre 12:30 a.m. home invasion that somehow, and I still don't get this, centers around rare Pokemon cards.
It is a sweeping look at human behavior under the microscope of fame.
Right. So let's start with a classic Hollywood aesthetic, which is the picture-perfect rom-com star, specifically the accounts we've pulled regarding Emma Roberts.
Okay.
Because if you look at her current public-facing life, it is peak curated domesticity. She just got engaged to Cody John in July of 2024.
I saw that.
Yeah, and she executed the perfect, relatable, but chic announcement. She posted a picture of her diamond ring with the caption, putting this here before my mom tells everyone.
Now, just notice the mechanics of that caption for a second. It is a highly calculated, endearing piece of text.
Oh, 100%.
It establishes this parasocial intimacy with the public. I mean, it makes you feel like you are in on a family joke, right?
Yeah, which instantly disarms any cynicism about, like, the wealth or the celebrity status attached to this giant diamond she is wearing.
Exactly. It totally works. It feels like a text you'd get from a friend.
It really does. And the wedding itself is slated for Saturday at Cody's family estate in the incredibly bougie lakes of Sun Valley, Idaho.
That was nice.
Very nice. Plus, she is focusing heavily in the press right now on co-parenting her son with her ex, Garrett Hedlund. They split back in 2021. And she has been incredibly vocal lately about her, quote, luxurious sleep routine.
Let's examine that sleep routine, actually, because it is a very specific PR signal.
It's intense, honestly. She talks about taking a bath, putting on various face masks, applying eye masks, basically doing everything humanly possible to completely cocoon herself.
Right.
Just to get 4 hours of sleep. I mean, I don't know anyone who would call 4 hours of sleep a luxury.
Right, yeah.
But she paints this picture of someone who is calm, settled, and finding zen in her chaotic life.
Well, the 4-hour detail is actually the most important part of that narrative. It isn't just about wellness.
Really? How so?
The PR team wants to project a star maturing into the next phase of her career. The subtext is basically that she is a busy, dedicated mother and a working professional who is so grounded she can achieve total restorative peace in just 4 hours.
Oh, wow. I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, it signals stability. And this is a big one, but when we pull the historical public records from her past, the reality we find is overwhelmingly turbulent.
Okay, let's take the shovel to the lawn. We need to pivot to the 2013 incident in Montreal with her then-boyfriend, actor Evan Peters.
Right, this is a major one.
According to the police reports from the time, officers responded to a disturbance at their hotel at 2:20 a.m. And when they arrived, they did not find a quirky rom-com misunderstanding.
No, they didn't.
They found Evan Peters with a bloody nose and a visible bite mark.
And the physical evidence at the scene dictated the legal response there. Because of those specific signs of an altercation, Emma Roberts was arrested on suspicion of assault.
Wait, so she is literally taken into custody for leaving a bite mark and a bloody nose on her partner?
Correct.
But this is where the PR machine goes into overdrive, and it absolutely baffles me. Her representative immediately released a statement to the press, aggressively brushing it off as an unfortunate incident and misunderstanding.
Yeah, that phrasing is very deliberate.
A misunderstanding, I mean, if I accidentally bump into someone at the grocery store, that is a misunderstanding. You do not accidentally bite someone.
I know it sounds absurd, but you are looking at the critical first 24 hours of crisis management. The goal of a PR team in that window is not to tell the truth. It is to provide the public with a socially acceptable off-ramp.
An off-ramp so people just stop paying attention.
Exactly. If they call it a misunderstanding, it gives fans permission to stop asking questions. And furthermore, it keeps the issue out of the courtroom.
Because Evan ultimately didn't press charges.
Yes. Celebrities will do almost anything to avoid a trial. The discovery phase of a legal proceeding makes private texts, emails, and testimonies a matter of public record.
Oh, so they don't want anyone digging into their phones.
Right. A PR team will strongly encourage both parties to handle it privately to just starve the news cycle of oxygen.
Well, the Band-Aid they used was wild because Evan didn't just drop the charges. He proposed to her 7 months later in January 2014.
Which really cemented that everything is fine narrative.
Yeah, and they stayed together for a while before eventually breaking up for good because they supposedly just grew apart.
Grew apart. That is perhaps the most reliable, sanitized phrase in the Public Relations Handbook.
Oh, for sure. It's so vague.
It assigns no blame and implies this mutual, peaceful drift. But what is truly fascinating here is how effectively a manufactured narrative can completely overwrite literal, documented police facts in the public consciousness.
It clearly didn't overwrite her actual personality, though.
How do you mean?
Well, the accounts we reviewed detail her acting strikingly similar to her mean girl character from the show Screen Queens in her actual day-to-day life.
Oh, right, the fan interactions.
Yeah, there is a documented account of a teenage fan approaching her in Calabasas for a photo, and Emma allegedly rolled her eyes, let out a massive sigh, and started cussing under her breath about how annoying people are.
Which is quite the contrast.
Right, and there is another account of her aggressively telling a guy to get out of her way in a bookstore.
It's that jarring contrast between the curated domesticity we see now and the volatile reality of her past.
But I have to push back on how society handled the Montreal incident. I mean, it is like rewriting a literal true crime incident into a quirky indie film simply because the actors involved are young, wealthy, and conventionally attractive.
Yes, the aesthetic privilege is huge there.
Because we see stars get their entire careers dismantled over like an offensive tweet from a decade ago. How does an arrest for physical assault get completely wiped from the cultural memory?
It all comes down to a psychological principle called the halo effect.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So this is a cognitive bias where our overall impression of a person influences how we feel and think about their specific character traits. We do this in everyday life, actually.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like assuming the well-dressed, attractive coworker is also highly competent, even if they're constantly late or messing up.
So because Emma fits a certain mold, we just mentally excuse the behavior.
Precisely. When someone aligns with our cultural standards of beauty, wealth, and a certain type of pedigree, I mean, Emma comes from Hollywood royalty. After all, society is unconsciously primed to offer them the benefit of the doubt.
Which is wild.
And the PR team leverages that bias. They know the public wants to maintain the fantasy. You want to avoid the cognitive dissonance of realizing a beloved, charming star might be deeply troubled or abusive.
It really forces you to question why society is so eager to forgive certain demographics while aggressively vilifying others for far, far less.
It really does.
That bias is incredibly powerful. But at the very least, her mean girl reputation in the bookstores kind of matches the biting, sarcastic roles she plays on screen. Like, it makes a twisted sort of sense.
Right, there's a consistency there.
But what happens when the cultural framing is completely upside down? Like when a celebrity is known for being a sensitive, brooding, artsy sweetheart, but has a completely different track record behind closed doors.
Yes. You are talking about the contrast between the public persona and the private reality. This perfectly sets up the materials we gathered covering two very different actors, Dylan Sprouse and Timothée Chalamet.
Yes. This specific story blew my mind. Let's talk about the infamous keg stand incident.
Oh, this is a good one.
Dylan Sprouse recently recounted a story from his days at NYU, which was roughly between 2011 and 2015. He was hanging out with Brennan Columbus, who was the son of the famous director Chris Columbus.
Okay, so a very Hollywood-adjacent crowd.
Very. And they were at a 4th of July party in Manhattan. Dylan openly admits in the accounts that they viciously bullied Timothée Chalamet at this party.
Viciously bullied.
Yes, his words. And the reason. Because Timothy refused to do a keg stand.
Which, for context, a keg stand is a quintessential, highly aggressive collegiate drinking ritual. It is loud, it requires physical exertion, and it is entirely about performing your capacity to consume alcohol for a cheering crowd.
Yeah, it is peak frat behavior. And Dylan justified this vicious bullying by saying he and his friends were these sick-as-hell cool guys, while framing Timothy as just a Columbia art nerd.
That framing is fascinating because the reality of Timothy's time at Columbia University tells a slightly different story.
Really? How so?
Well, according to his own public statements, his tenure there was remarkably brief. He dropped out in 2013 after completing just 1 year, claiming he did not have the, quote, wholehearted academic commitment that the Ivy League institution required.
Which honestly is a very polite, PR-approved way of saying his mind was entirely elsewhere.
Right, exactly.
Because at that exact time, he had just spent a month and a half in Canada filming the massive Christopher Nolan sci-fi movie Interstellar.
Right. So Dylan is framing him as this fragile, out-of-place, helpless academic nerd. But in reality, Timothy was likely already mentally transitioning into the mindset of a global movie star.
Yeah, he wasn't just some helpless nerd. And the narrative of Timothy as a victim of frat bro bullying gets heavily complicated when we look at the accounts from his own high school days.
Oh, yes, the LaGuardia accounts.
Right. Before Columbia, Timothy went to LaGuardia High School, which is the famous performing arts school in New York. He graduated in the same class as Ansel Elgort.
Okay, so theater kid central.
Exactly. And the accounts from his classmates paint a drastically different picture of his personality.
What do they say?
So there's one specific story from a freshman pool party. A girl who was a non-drama major, was feeling insecure about her body in a swimsuit, so she borrowed some shorts to cover up.
Okay.
And according to this account, Timothy walked right up to her and said out loud for everyone to hear, "Someone has cellulite."
Wow. It is a remarkably cruel, targeted comment. I mean, it's not a generalized insult. It is a laser-guided strike at a teenager's physical insecurity.
Someone has cellulite. To a freshman, I can't even imagine. And that is not an isolated claim.
It isn't.
No. Other accounts in our materials label him as having been fat-faming, rude, stuck up, and highly aware of his own privilege during his time there.
That is quite the list.
Okay, so I have to ask you, who is the real bully in this cultural ecosystem? It feels like two completely different species of teenagers colliding. You have the loud frat dogs barking aggressively at the aloof artsy cat, but it turns out the artsy cat actually has hidden claws.
The animal analogy is perfect here, because what is fascinating is how our cultural stereotypes dictate who we instantly perceive as the villain.
Right.
When you hear the NYU story, you immediately assume Dylan Sprouse is the aggressor because his loud, keg-standing frat boy persona fits the archetype of the high school bully we have seen in 100 coming-of-age movies.
Totally. The guy yelling at you to drink beer is always the bad guy.
Right. But Timothy's alleged behavior, making quiet, targeted psychological remarks about a young woman's body that demonstrates a completely different and arguably more insidious kind of cruelty.
Yeah, that quiet cruelty is brutal.
It really is. It asks us to consider how what we often call theater kid energy, that brooding, artistic, misunderstood persona, can frequently be a highly effective mask for profound arrogance and elitism.
Oh, absolutely.
It reminds you that cruelty does not always come wrapped in a backwards baseball cap at a noisy frat party. Sometimes it comes wrapped in a carefully curated avant-garde aesthetic.
Yeah, it is so much harder to spot when it's quiet. But it is fascinating how Timothy used that quiet cruelty to project superiority in high school.
It definitely changes how you view that keg stand story.
It does. Which makes me wonder, when a celebrity's actual physical safety is threatened, how do they project strength then?
That's an interesting pivot.
Because Dylan Sprouse's intense, aggressive energy was recently put to the ultimate test in real life. And honestly, it went down in the most bizarre way imaginable.
Ah, you are referring to the home invasion incident.
I am.
This is a remarkable case study in how a celebrity navigates a genuine, terrifying crisis versus how they desperately want that crisis perceived by the public afterward.
Okay, let me paint the scene for you. It is 12:30 a.m. at the home Dylan shares with his wife, the model Barbara Pelvin. The front door is unlocked, which, first of all, lock your doors.
Right. Highly recommend locking the door.
Always. Anyway, Dylan is chilling on the couch, wide awake, playing the video game Pokemon Legends.
It is an incredibly domestic, mundane, and vulnerable setting.
Totally vulnerable. Then, out of nowhere, he hears a violent rattling at the front door.
Terrifying.
Right. His first thought is, oh, maybe it's my dad. But he immediately dismisses that because his dad is strictly in bed by 8 p.m.
Fair enough.
So what is Dylan Sprouse's second thought as someone actively tries to break into his house in the middle of the night?
Oh, I know this one, and it's wild.
He assumes a thief is trying to steal their rare Pokemon cards because they had just had a, quote, great pull recently.
The psychology there is truly unique.
I am utterly bewildered by his priorities. I mean, you hear someone breaking in, and your brain goes to shiny cardboard.
It's definitely not the standard reaction.
It is like a tense, high-stakes military thriller violently crashed into a Saturday morning cartoon. How does Pokemon even enter your mind during a home invasion?
Well, when you are deeply insulated by wealth and high-end security, your perception of risk is often skewed. Your brain defaults to your immediate hobbies and material possessions rather than the threat of sudden physical violence.
Because they're just not used to physical threats.
Exactly. Because true physical violence is completely alien to your everyday environment. But, to his credit, the situation escalated and he reacted.
Oh, he went into full tactical mode. He checks the door cam and sees a guy outside for about 20 seconds. So Dylan grabs his 1911 Kimber gun.
Things just got very real.
Yeah. He tells Barbara to stay upstairs, and this detail is incredible. She accesses his crow's nest from an upper floor window.
A crow's nest.
Yeah, she's up there calling the police and literally mimicking holding a gun with her hands while looking out the window to cover him.
It is highly theatrical. I mean, it sounds like they're acting out a scene from an action movie.
It really does. So Dylan goes outside and confronts the guy. And the intruder has wires hanging out of his pockets, which is an absolutely terrifying detail.
Very alarming. You don't know what those are.
Exactly. You don't know if it's a weapon, explosive, or just junk. But Dylan just tells him he wants no funny business and calmly walks the guy off the property. No shots fired, no tackle, no police charges pressed.
Well, from a sociological standpoint, it highlights a very specific reality of living in Los Angeles right now. Many residents, particularly high net worth individuals, feel a deep sense of institutional distrust.
Like they can't call the cops.
Right. They feel they cannot rely on local law enforcement for immediate protection, which leads to this kind of heavily armed vigilante readiness.
Wow. Well, he definitely handled it safely. But what gets me is how he talked about the incident afterward. Because he achieved a peaceful resolution, but that apparently wasn't enough for him.
Yes, and this is where the PR manipulation comes in, but it is done with a surprising level of self-awareness.
Oh, completely.
Because in the accounts we reviewed, Dylan openly admitted that he actually wants the public to think he physically tackled the intruder, even though he didn't touch him.
He explicitly said he is not correcting the rumors online because, quote, that's cool.
Yes.
He just straight up admits he prefers the fake tough guy narrative over the truth.
And, he handled the situation with total calm and de-escalation, which is objectively the responsible thing to do.
Right.
But he recognizes that the myth of him being an action hero is much better currency for his public image. It is a rare moment of a celebrity just breaking the fourth wall.
Totally.
He is showing you exactly how he actively participates in rewriting his own mythology in real time.
He is curating his own lore through action. But it makes me think, if Dylan uses a non-existent physical tackle to manufacture a lore, how do celebrities manufacture relevance when there is no actual event?
When there's no intruder to stop.
Right, when there's no home invasion or movie premiere to talk about. Well, it turns out they use sheer, unadulterated visual spectacle.
Ah, so you're shifting to Tyra Banks and the cultural phenomenon of her bangs.
I am indeed. Let's look at the return of Tyra Banks to the revamped reality show Project Runway, where she's appearing alongside celebrity stylist Law Roach.
Now, this is supposed to be a show about finding the next great fashion designer.
Supposed to be, but nobody in the accounts we're analyzing is talking about the clothes on the runway. They are exclusively talking about Tyra's hair.
Yes, those bangs.
So specifically, these enormous structural gravity-defying bangs.
The descriptions in the public discourse are just visceral.
Mm-hmm.
People are reacting to it as if it were an architectural installation.
They are hilarious and ruthless. The sources describe these bangs not even as hair, but as a boom.
A boom.
Yeah. One person said it looks like a separate creature crawling on top of her head. Another called it Xena's hat.
Wow.
Right. It is this massive, thick fringe that is actively challenging Taylor Swift's famously thick 6-inch bangs for the title of the biggest in the world.
And Tyra knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, yeah. She herself posted a selfie writing, "Brown never lets me down," clearly trying to lean into the chaos of the look.
But the hair, as absurd as it is really just a staging ground, right?
Yeah.
The visual hook for the interpersonal drama playing out on camera.
Exactly. Because on air, there is this palpable, snippy tension.
Let's talk about that tension.
So Law Roach haughtily makes a comment about how he doesn't visit fast fashion sites, heavily implying he only deals in high-end couture.
Right.
And Tyra immediately jumps on it, calling out the shade and implying he is being elitist. It is uncomfortable to watch.
Very awkward.
But I have to ask you, is this genuine friction? Or is this a desperate, calculated ploy for ratings?
Well, what do you think?
I mean, are these massive bangs just a literal theater curtain designed to distract the audience from the fact that a legacy reality show is struggling to stay relevant in a new media era?
You are hitting on the core economics of the modern attention economy right there.
Am I?
Yes. When organic buzz fades, when a legacy show like Project Runway no longer holds the cultural monopoly, it once did celebrities and producers have to manufacture relevance.
They have to make us look.
Exactly. The economics of television in 2024 dictate that a viral meme is often more profitable, or at least more visible, than a well-produced episode.
That makes a lot of sense.
So physical transformations and manufactured microaggressions, like class-based arguments over fast fashion, are highly effective tools for this.
Because it gives the internet something to argue about.
Precisely. They use absurdity to force their way back into the headlines. A hairpiece that looks like a helmet or a petty argument over who shops where becomes a cheap, highly effective billboard.
Even if everyone is just making fun of it.
It does not matter if the audience respects the look or the argument, as long as the audience is looking at it. It is the absolute weaponization of the bizarre.
So the hair isn't a mistake. The styling isn't an accident. The hair is a strategic business decision.
Always. In that echelon of the entertainment industry, absolutely nothing is left to pure chance. Every inch of the lawn is manicured for a reason.
What a wild journey beneath the surface we've been on today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We started with Emma Roberts and the realization that a skilled PR crisis team can sweep a literal late-night hotel room brawl under the rug of a cozy rom-com aesthetic.
The power of the halo effect.
Yeah, then we look at Timothée Chalamet's high school cruelty and realize that the quiet, artsy theater kid can wield a psychological cruelty that flies completely under the radar compared to the loud frat boy.
Hidden claws, like you said.
Exactly. Then we saw Dylan Sprouse defending his Pokemon cards like a Navy SEAL while actively admitting he loves curating a fake action hero narrative.
That was truly bizarre.
So bizarre. And finally, Tyra Banks using a creature-like hairpiece and manufactured feuds as an economic strategy to keep a legacy show in the conversation.
It all circles back to where we started, doesn't it?
The pristine grass versus the tangled roots underneath.
Exactly. Which leaves you with something important to consider as you consume these fragmented, highly edited stories.
Let's hear it.
When you see the sanitized arrest reports, the college keg stands, the 12:30 a.m. paranoia, are you ever actually seeing these celebrities for who they truly are? Or is every scandal, every leak, and every meme just another carefully managed part of the performance?
Wow, it really makes you wonder, right? If your own worst moments from high school or your weirdest midnight habits were suddenly put under a global microscope, who would write your character?
Would you have the resources to bury the truth and rewrite your mythology? Or would you just be at the mercy of the internet?
Honestly, a deeply unsettling thought to leave on.
Would you be the hero, the villain, or just another misunderstanding waiting for a PR spin?
Well, I don't know about me, but I hope none of us ever have to find out. Keep digging, keep questioning the narrative, and stay curious. See you next time.